outdated and you don't have hands-on training very much, apart from a few colleges. And generally, the mindset of students that we've found when we do talk to them is that they believe that if you pass exams, then you'll kind of get a good job at the end of it. They feel that if they just knuckle down and just learn whatever textbook wisdom they are being taught and pass the exams and do well, that they'll get a job. Unfortunately, that is not so much the case now, and it will be even more difficult as we go ahead because of lots of trends out there in the market. Number one, COVID has transformed things in more ways than we'd like to understand right now. It's making something like a gig economy come into existence. I'll explain what that is in a moment. Automation of various kinds due to AI, machine learning, and stuff like that have downsized the number of people you need to do anything, whether it's in the manufacturing industry, the healthcare industry, or even in software. All the Godagiri jobs, testing jobs, and all that are slowly disappearing. More high quality, skilled software jobs are there for the asking, but many of our youngsters don't have the skills to fit into those jobs. Many of those jobs are requiring contemporary skills. Apart from AI and machine learning and all that, they want more hands-on skills in embedded systems, robotics, all sorts of things. More important than all, employers are looking for people who are somewhat self-contained, Atmanirbhar, who can learn new skills, because technology is so rapidly changing that you need to constantly be updating yourself and learning new things. So all these things require us to understand this animal called entrepreneurship. Now, what e-Yantra has been doing is that over the past decade, it's been training students. Originally, we started out as a distance learning project where we used to train large numbers of students in embedded systems and robotics. And when we became better and better at that, we decided that perhaps there's something more that we can do with the students. So in one competition we have called the e-Yantra robotics competition, we train them in large numbers in contemporary skills like building complex control systems, image processing, AI, machine learning, embedded systems, you name it. And then we have another competition called the e-Yantra Innovation Challenge, where we systematically train them to do startups. Now, most of the time students they want to be an entrepreneur, they want to do startups, and they've heard about startups and they don't know where to even start. I can solve a problem, but what problem do I solve? Now, that's a very important skill to have. What problem to solve? Otherwise, we are just technicians. There's plumbers, there's electricians, and there are programmers. They're technicians. You give them a job, they'll solve it. But the bigger margins and the real challenges and the excitement is in finding what is the problem that I should solve and creating a company out of it. You can create a Google out of it. You can create an Apple out of it. You can create lots and lots of smaller companies out of it. So the trend is nowadays in the world that things are becoming very much more uncertain. Automation is going to kill old jobs, and the new jobs require new skills, and it's all going towards a gig economy. Gig economy is where you're on your own. Jobs for life have disappeared. They're not there anymore. No company will give you a job for life. People think that if you go into banks, a bank job will last you your life, or or what have you. Government is also downsizing and things like that. So you have to be entrepreneurial. You have to make your own opportunities. Okay. So you'll see, you might have in your family some mamas, right, who are entrepreneurs and all that, and you'll notice that they're very different from your other relatives, right? In the sense that they have a bit of self-belief, they have a bit of knowledge of the world, they have a very problem-solving attitude towards life and situations, perhaps. They are self-driven. And more important than that, they know how to deal with failure, right? Most people, if they fail once, they say, oh my God, I will not do this again, and then don't do it. Entrepreneurs are a different breed. If they fail, they said, I have not failed. I have not understood the market. Maybe I'll try something else and try that. If that doesn't work, I'll try something else. I'll try that until they find a formula that works. That is a very resilient mindset, which is really what we really need in life generally. And these are the same qualities that you need in a researcher, someone who wants to do a postgraduate degree or a PhD, or someone who's an entrepreneur. What are researchers doing? They are creating new knowledge. They are going where people have not gone before. They are solving problems which have not been solved. What is an entrepreneur? He's trying to find new markets. They found a need in society which is not met, and they want to identify what that need is and create a solution and put it out there. The bigger the need, the bigger the potential opportunity and money to be made, right? The smaller the need, smaller the company. But now it's very exciting that the world is your actual oyster now. And there's lots here for everyone. In our e-Yantra innovation challenge, what we do is that we first immerse you in an area, then we train you. I think there's some noise here from Vrishba. Would you please mute your mic, please? Okay. So uh, we have this opportunity here for both teachers and students. In the e-Yantra Innovation Challenge, what we do is that we immerse you in a particular area with the help of experts. We help you articulate problems in that area, which are unmet needs, and then we help you solve those problems using technology. And then we help you actually build the technology. And if that's good enough on your part, then we help you pitch to an incubator. Right. So we have this challenge, which is in which registrations are open right now until I think the 25th. I think there's an early bird date, which is the 10th, where you can register to learn these skills. But what we often say to both teachers and students, this time that you have in your college is extremely valuable. You will never get this free time again. It is free time because you're not working for an employer who says do this, do this, do this. You are free to explore. So we want you to explore from your very first semester, thinking in terms of opportunities for startups, interesting technology, and things like that, and spending your time at college to create that opportunity, maybe as a BE project. You could have in your second year a capstone project. You could go out into the local industry, find out if they have any interesting problems to solve, and kind of bring them to your college, solve them as BE projects. And faculty can play a very, very important role in this. They will provide an anchor in the college. They will provide a point of persistence because relationship with the industry, local industry is very important. They will sustain those relationships and try and get problems which they can then solve with their students. Okay. And then once you have that kind of attitude, the world is your oyster. You're only limited by your imagination, and the world becomes a much more alive and interesting place. Okay. So what eYantra's role is that we want to create a difference and impact in society by creating lots and lots of people with an entrepreneurial attitude. I'll give you an example. Muthu Vangaliappan took part in our robotics competition way back in 2012. When he came for his internship, we give a 6-week internship as an award. We had a faculty from Copenhagen Business School, and they gave a 1-week workshop on entrepreneurship. He was so inspired after that. He says, I want to become an entrepreneur. I said, you must become either an entrepreneur or a researcher. Don't just take up a job. He took our words seriously. He started a company called Catamaran Technologies in Coimbatore. And ever since then, he's had tough times. He's had his ups and downs, but now he has almost 105 people working for him. He's selling security robots to companies in Singapore to patrol their campus. And last I spoke to him, he was in a 7-star hotel in Singapore selling them delivery robots. So eYantra alumni have done pretty well in the sense that many student startups are just apps or kind of data-oriented websites and things like that. Our students are actually building engineering companies. And my colleague Deepa will, in her presentation, tell you a little bit more about the sorts of projects that our students have done. But without much ado, I hope that I've been able to motivate you about the importance of this and the role that teachers can play in this, that I would encourage you to help your students to do startups and perhaps even take a stake in the startup. right? And then you'll find that life becomes much more exciting when you see technology actually being applied to solve real problems. So without much ado, I shall hand over the floor to Deepa. Deepa, are you there? I hope
Yes,
that's
sir.
motivated our audience in the way that you expect. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. I hope I am audible to all. Like, could somebody confirm?
I can hear you.
Yes, ma'am, you are
Yes,
audible.
ma'am.
Thank you so much. So we'll start with our session. Our session for today is the first step to the innovation. And what is the first step? It is customer discovery and understanding the problems. So I'll share my presentation. Okay, I hope the presentation is visible. So yes.
Yes, ma'am, it is
So
visible.
yeah, thank you. So, as Kavisa mentioned, like we have to have an entrepreneurial mindset within us because the era that we are living in, it is Atmanirbhar Bharat that we are aiming at. So, customer problems and customer needs is what we need to focus. So, our main focus is to understand what are the customer problems and their needs, because in even if you go to an entrepreneurial like entrepreneurship course or business school, the first thing that is taught, the primary and the key element of a startup is to do a customer discovery. The first step is to understand who is your customer, understand what problem they are facing, and then only we start with solution and then build a business model and so on. So here we'll start. 1 minute. Yeah. So what we'll do is we'll try to make this session as an interactive one, because this is not a technical session, rather it's a entrepreneurial innovation and that kind of session. So we'll make it interactive. I request you all to go to menti.com and enter. Once you go to menti.com, you have to enter this code, and there is a there's a question that I have asked, like, what percentage of startups succeed in India? I request you all to go to this Menti poll. And we have 4 options here. So what percentage of startups succeed in India? Is it 5%, it is 6 to 10%, or 11 to 15%, or it is greater than 15% in our nation? Okay, so 60% of our um, audience say it is 6 to 10%. Okay, okay. We'll wait for everybody to answer. If you are still exploring, you can either use your phone or laptop, write www.menti.com, and you'll be asked to enter a code. Enter this code 56895915. So the first question that will be visible to you, select the option and submit. Okay, so it is going interesting. Okay, so here is a tie that people like are okay. So maximum people say that it is 6 to 10%. So 6 to 10% is what many people say. Okay, so yes. Okay, now we'll stop here, and it is correct. Like, about 5 to 10% startups in India actually succeed. Like, out of 100%, just imagine 5 to 10%. So why does it happen? Why 90% of the startup, why 90% of the startup fail? And it is a result by Institute of the School. They mentioned that the study says 90% of Indian startup fail within the first 5 years of their inception. Why does it happen? Like why startups fail in the first 5 year, like in the first year of their inception? So let's hear from you. So our next question is, why do you think the startups fail? Yeah. So once you'll refresh, you will be able to answer this. Why do startups fail? I request you to refresh and then enter your answer. So we have seen, and I think many of us are in sync that we all agree that it's about five. I request you all to mute yourself, and maybe we'll take the Q&A towards the end of the session. So many of us said that, okay, it is 5 to 10% of the startups that fail. Okay. So what are the reasons that you feel why the startup fail? Like you can put it in your comments. Okay, lack of knowledge. What else? Like I request everybody to answer. Okay, can't connect to customer, no funding due to lack of experience, consistency. Okay, due to weak market, without any mentor, unawareness of market, wrong customer discovery, less awareness. Mm, okay, due to lack of experience, lack of education. Okay, many say that it's
Total
lack
English
of
मध्ये बोलतात.
knowledge.
मग कळत नसतं तर कशाला करायला तू
Uh,
त्याच्यापेक्षा प्रॉब्लेम सोडत बस.
Gargi, can you mute like everybody?
हिला काय पाहिलं माहिती का कुठे गेला रे
Gargi, can you mute everybody? Yeah.
नाही.
तिला वाटलंच नाही
I
मुंबईला
request
ते
you all to mute
ते सर पण
yourself.
इंग्लिशच बोल राहिलं
इंग्लिशच बोलतात मी ते.
त्याला म्हणलं कॅन यू स्पीक इन हिंदी ते मग मराठीमध्ये बोला
आणि स्पीकरची तशीच आहे. आम्ही करीतच नाही मग कळत नसतं.
चांगले पानं असते ठेवून द्यायचे नाही आज पाय
Okay. So we see a lot of ideas and we see a lot of reasons from you why the startup fail. So one good answer is like customer discovery, like wrong customer discovery or lack of market analysis, customer requirements. Okay, so now we'll see why do startup fail. Many of you are right about it. So there are top 20 reasons why startups fail, and the most that contributes is no market need. So there is no demand, you know. The product or service or process is designed by assuming something, and it is built by somebody with a hobby project. Or for example, I may speak to my friend and he or she shares something cool and I like it. Okay, this can be a good product, and then I just build it. But I didn't realize whether it will be for everybody or not. What is the value of it? What is the target audience? I don't know, but I've just built it. So what will happen is there's no market need. So whatever efforts that I have put, it is gone vain, right? So we need to understand that what is the market need. Like we shouldn't build a solution to solve our own problem. We should understand what is the market need and then only try to build a solution to it. So that is the first and important thing. No market need and people fail, like the startup fails. Another thing is run out of cash. Now we have in the initial period we have a good amount and then we start with a business, but then slowly what happens is the burn rate is high. like it is not going that well. We assume something, but it's not going that well, and the burn rate becomes so high that we run out. Like there's no more money to do some productivity. So it is necessary to understand the cash. It is necessary to understand the cash flow, necessary to understand the pricing strategy, the pricing structure that we put it. Okay. So, for example, if I build a startup, I need to understand how I will ideally make money, by direct sale or by sponsorships, or how. So I need to understand the two important thing that I do in a startup is what will be the cash flow. Like cash flow is the key important thing before I do a startup. And then the source of finance that will come. Because what happens in the initial period is I have money, I have the startup also, but then many of that, more of that amount goes to the payroll with the employees. Then how we'll manage it? So we need to understand here, the main reason why the startup fail because of cash is we don't understand the cash flow. We don't understand the pricing structure that we have done. So we need to understand that, like, okay, what will be the pricing strategy for 1 year, for 3 years, for 5 years down the line. So that is the main cause. Okay. And this is what is close to my heart. The third point, not the right team. We start a startup, but then we don't have people who are having the same goals in mind. So in competitions also, like as Kavisa mentioned, we do e-Yantra robotics competition, innovation challenge. In innovation challenge, we see students come in a team of 3 or 4 students, but there needs to be like-minded views. Like the goal should be equal for all. And if we don't have a right team, the product, whatever we have done, it just ends in the prototype level. It doesn't go to the next level. So there needs to be a right team in place, because team is crucial to an organization. It is people who can share each other's minds, hear ideas, listen to each other. There needs to be same commitment across everybody. Okay, shared goals that needs to be there. The most important thing what I personally believe in a startup to succeed is the right kind of team, the right attitude. Like in e-Yantra also, we have been here for a decade. The things that's running us, the innovations that goes on in our e-Yantra lab is because of like-minded people. Like all that we have here are EYRC finalists that come after placement, and then we have that like-minded culture in our lab. That's why we are sustaining so far. So in any startup, it is very important that we have a right team members in us. Like in the first period when we do a startup, what we need is we need the CEO, the CMO, the CFO. So whom we choose as the CFO, who is the right candidate to understand the finance and the strategy, who is the right person who can do the marketing, who can be the co-founder. That all we need to understand before we do a startup. So there are top three reasons, which is definitely a reason for a startup to succeed or fail, and then get out competed. So I think out competed is personally that competitors, like if we have competitors in market, we get out competed. Okay, so here we need to understand the business. I request you all to please mute yourself, Gargi. Like, could you please mute everybody? Yeah. So what we'll do is all the Q&A, we'll take it at the end of the session. Okay. So coming back to the top 20 reasons why startup fail. The fourth reason that is stated is get out competed. Why does this happen? It is mainly because of the competitors. And how competitors? Because if you release something, there is high chances that somebody will definitely copy it or make it in a brand new manner. If I have an iPhone, I may get a OnePlus also in the market, which is cheaper in rate. Okay. And which is design worthy also. Like both the designs are really cool. So things get out competed easily. So what is there to solve this kind of problem? So I'll go to a paper. So this is the paper that is there on relationship between innovation and organization and organizational change. So the important thing how we um, can overcome this getting out competed factor is to do a change management in our organization. The successful and fastest growing companies use innovative solution in the business. They are adapting the change. They are adapting the requirements, the products and services that are there. They either upgrade or they come up with innovative solution. So to compete this kind of problem, it is always that a company needs to come up with innovative ideas, come up with different kind of brands, come up with all creative ideas to still gain that market. Okay, so here is what it is important. And then pricing cost is all about finance that we discussed, and user unfriendly product, like if I have a UI or any app or any software, if it is not user friendly, the person doesn't know where to start with, where to go, it is very difficult, then the person may leave that. Okay, so we need to understand what is user specific requirements and so on, poor marketing, ignoring customers. So these are the top few reasons why a startup fail. Now we know that, okay, startups succeed for a certain reason. Now what is the skill set, or what are the skill set that are required for a founder to prioritize, is what my next question is to you all. So yeah, we'll move on to this question, and I request you all to answer. We have seen now no market need, get out competed because of competitors, and there is an important need in the team building factor in an organization, identify identifying the right team. Then what do you think, being a founder, one should possess, like one should have the skill set of? So I request you all to go to menti.com and answer your inputs, like what are your inputs about a founder should have, like being a founder I should have these kind of skill set to be a successful person. Yeah, I request everybody to share your ideas. Okay, so founders should have a market knowledge, trust, do a time management, product design, leadership quality. Very important. Somebody mentioned about the leadership, which is very, very important for a founder. Market knowledge is getting more emphasis. And okay. Understanding the market. I think we have the right kind of audience here today who are all in sync with the session. Okay, so it is the team management that is needed, business understanding that's needed. Okay, marketing is the center of the show. Okay, okay. Communication, business understanding, customer handling. Okay. Okay, cool. So many of you say that the person should have a leadership quality, should do a good marketing, should have at least the basic knowledge of everything, product design, managing the team, team building quality, succeeding after failure. Very good point. Okay, so now we'll move on to our slide and understand what are the top qualities or that a founder should possess. Okay, so the founder should prioritize these skill set. I request you all to note it down, or what we'll do is we'll briefly understand each points. So the founder should prioritize the first and important thing, that is having 88 percentage, is founding team assembly, choosing the right co-founders, recruiting advisors, managing a board, and all. So it is very important for a founder to understand who will be the co-founder, who will be the CTO, like the technical officer, who will be the finance officer, who will be the marketing officer. who will be the customer officer, who will take care of the customers, who will understand the problems and the needs from the customer and all. So, and why managing board is needed? Because there are several IP and patents and some IP policies that are needed. So with like for a healthy business, for a healthy startup, it is necessary to have a board, like a managing board. So that is it's all about. And many of you said it is leadership, which is true. Like leadership quality is very much important for a founder. Why? Because the leadership quality is where a person will have the vision, an objective of the startup. Why to start a startup? Like, what is the objective behind it? What are the goals? So, a person should understand those things. What should be the managing culture? So, leadership quality is very, very much important to start with a startup. And then we have product management. Product management is where we highlight, okay, these are the minimum viable product that our company will sell. These are the minimum thing or the best of our product that will go. What are the features that it should have? What is the selling point of it? All those things. Like, how do we do a product management? Do we have one verticals? Do we have several verticals? So all those things come under product management. So this is also very crucial for an organization, for a founder, to know how the product will work, what are the different products and services and processes that one should sell. And then the important thing is team management. Team management, why? Because without a team, it is not possible, right, to do anything. So it is needed that team management should be there, like who is assigned what kind of job, how the hiring is done. Like-minded people should get into the organization. So nowadays, startups or corporates, they face a lot of problem in hiring right kind of people. They hire, but in 1 or 2 months, it is not working the way we think. So right kind of people entering in the organization is very important. Right kind of people working in the same team is very important. Also, there may be a conflict of interest between the two person. Then how do you adjust, or how do you complement two people so job? Like for example, if I am good at technical skills and my colleague is good at documentation skills, then we both should pair up, because there is a good combination of technical and documentation part. So that is one example of team management. So like a founder should know how to do a team management. And selling and marketing. So selling and marketing is all about to market the product, to outreach, to do marketing of the products and services that you have. And then comes the product design, strategy formulation. Now strategy formulation is very, very important before a founder starts the business also, because it covers the business model of the whole organization. So the strategy of the whole organization, like whether it is pricing strategy, whether it is business model, whether it is customer support, whether it is product. So strategy is the key essence of a founder. So and then comes the finance and the engineering management. Now you have, it is so difficult. Should I just go and check out for a courses where I can get equipped with all those skills, or what to do? Is it like all founders should have these many qualities? It's not like that. It like I personally feel that a founder should generally have leadership quality. Marketing, it is up to the person. Like leadership quality is very important, product management is very important, and strategy formulation is very important. So the three things that founders should definitely have is the leadership quality, where the person is having an objective, a vision, and a goal to take the product to a higher level. The person should have a good strategy formulation about the whole business model. And then a person should have a good team management and a product management feature. Okay, but it may happen that a person is very good with the marketing and startup, uh, do a startup. For example, if we see the boat product, we have Aman Gupta, who is a co-founder. and he is a good CMO. Like he is doing a great marketing. Like whatever is the business in boat, I think it is because of the marketing that has been done. So Aman Gupta, being a very good marketing person, he is a good founder. So a person may have their own qualities, a person may have their own ways, but then yeah, these are the top skills that a founder should definitely have. Okay, so now we'll move on to a startup. Like the startup can lie in any of the four quadrant, but what is startup all about? It is all about the customer, understanding the customer's problems, coming up with a solution, and coming up with a business model. So now there can be four things that can happen. Like there can be four places where a startup can lie. It can be where the customer is unknown and the solution is unknown. What will happen if you are in this phase, like in this quadrant? That means you are new to the market. Like you don't know the customer, don't know the solution, but you want to do a startup. So here is where is the beginning of a startup, like a beginning period or the initial period of a startup, where I don't know who are my customers, I don't know what is the solution that I will offer, but I want to do a startup. So what will I do at this particular phase is I'll do a customer discovery. I'll understand the problems that are out there near my surroundings. I'll talk to people and understand what they are facing, what are the common problems that are there, and then I'll come up with a solution. Okay, so this becomes the initial period of a startup. Then we have solution known and customer known at this phase, where I know the customer, I know the solution. Okay. Now, what will happen in this kind of companies or this kind of startups? The products upgrade. For example, if we take Apple or Microsoft products, so there are customers who are there, who are using the product, and what will happen, the features are upgraded. Or if we are using Windows 10, there is Windows 11 that is launched, definitely people will upgrade it. So where we know the customers, we know the solutions, the startups or the companies, they do a upgrade of the product, or they launch a new product because they know what the customers are intending, what are the customer needs. Okay. And now what will happen when we have customer known and solution unknown? What will happen in this case is we know the customer, but we don't know the solution. Again, here we talk to customers, we understand the problem, and now we know, okay, these are the problems that they are facing, and these are the solution that we can offer, and then we launch a new product. Okay, so here is where a period of an organization which is at the center, that is working on a product and launching it for the known customers. Okay, but the critical phase of a startup is at this phase where I know the solution, but I don't know the customers. And in this case, usually it's the hobby project, or it is by like I love something and I have done that. So at this phase, there is a new market entry of the product, service, or process, where I know that this is the solution, this will do a lot of things very cool way, but I don't know who will purchase this. So here is a trial period for a organization to understand whether it will sell or not. So this is a risk phase. Okay, so these are different quadrants where a startup can come in. I hope this is understandable. Now, as we discussed about, customer problem and solutions. So this is this is covered in the paper that I had mentioned in the previous slide. So this is very important in the innovation process, the end-to-end innovation process, which starts with insights from customers. Then it goes to a problem where we understand what the customer problems are. Then we build a solution. And finally, we have the problems there, we have the solutions being made, we come up with a business model. At any point in time, it may happen that I have come to a solution and then I again go back to the insight, because this may fail or this may, get out competed. Then I again come to insight and do this. So this process is not in a sequence. it can go any way around. Like I may come to insight and I do everything and do a business model, but again I go to an insight to understand the real need. So like let's see one example and then come back to this slide. So I'll share about the video that Professor Arya mentioned about the problems, and then we'll come back to understand this end-to-end innovation process. So yeah.
When you see a problem around you, or when you see anything that needs to be solved, a situation, which discipline it belongs to. It doesn't say I'm an electrical engineering problem or a mechanical engineering problem or a civil engineering problem. A problem is a problem which needs to be solved. So we need more engineers who will take the bull by the horns and get into any discipline which is required to solve that.
Yeah, so it can be from any discipline. So we need to solve the problem. Okay. Yeah, now we'll come up and 1 minute. Yeah. So what Kavi Arya sir mentioned is we know that problem can be from any discipline, from any domain. Okay. But what is a problem actually? It is an unfulfilled need. A need in the market, a need in the customers, any point in time. So how do we now, so now we get the problem, but now how do we, come up with a solution? Shall we assume, or shall we go to the customer and talk to the person, like exactly what kind of solution is needed? So let's see a video, like let's watch a video and then come up to a solution. Yeah. So this video is
group beautifully.
So this video is there on TED Talk, and it is all about if you want to help someone, then we need to listen to them. Okay, so I'll share the link with you all on chat so that you can refer to this video and also the Professor Arya sir's video that I've shown just now. Yeah, let's watch this.
And we had these magnificent tomatoes. In Italy, a tomato would grow to this size, in Zambia to this size. And we could not believe. And we were telling the Zambians, look how easy agriculture is. When the tomatoes were nice and ripe and red, overnight, some 200 hippos came out from the river and they ate everything. And we said to the Zambians, my God, the hippos! And the Zambia said, yes, that's why we have no agriculture here. Why didn't you tell us? You never asked.
Yeah, so the important takeaway from that video is that we see that there is a problem. Like, for example, in his case, they saw that, okay, Zambian people, they are not doing some agriculture in a fertile land. Why they are not doing? They assume that by their methods of, doing an agriculture in a fertile land, they will produce a very good tomatoes, and that will solve their basic needs, like, that will help them. But then they just assume that, okay, it will work out. And then they started with the agriculture. But then the local people, they knew why they didn't do it. So without asking people, without understanding what the community is doing, why it is not, or how things are working in the particular location, we simply assume and do something. And finally, is what he is mentioning is it failed, right? So we shouldn't assume anything. We should just shut up and listen. That is the hard truth of an innovation and entrepreneurship, that before even we do a startup, before even we come up to a solution, we know there is a problem, but we should not assume. We should first listen to people. We should understand whether there is a proper need or not, whether there is a need of the solution that I am thinking. Okay. So I'll play one more video. This is another example of why we should listen to people.
Anything that the picture makes you feel. I'll give you a little bit of background. This picture is taken in Africa. They're all women there. They're carrying water on their heads. What does it make you feel? There are only women in the picture, right? No men. We kind of take this as, we assume that that's normal, right? Nobody says that where are the men? Why are there only women carrying water? Because there are women carrying water in India. We're so used to looking at that we assume this is how things should be. They are carrying water. It's really hot. It's really dry. The water source is far from the village, which is why they have to carry water all the way back to the village. And they do this every day, right? And can all of us agree that that's not the way to live? We feel bad about it, right? You said you want to do something. You said that the government should do something about this, right? So all of us, we have this feeling that this is a problem that needs to be solved. What would be the most obvious solution for this problem? The entrepreneurs went there, so it's a problem that needs to be solved. So they found that there is groundwater table. The groundwater table is good enough to be harvested. So they put a tube well there, which is the most cost effective, right? Instead of putting an entire pipeline, you put a tube well. You dig deep, put a tube well, and you get water right there, right? So the entrepreneurs were happy, the engineers were happy. We solved the problem. We went to Africa, dekhe, solve kiya problem. Aa gaye wapas. They celebrated about it. 3 months later, they went back to the village just to find out how their project was doing, right? They went back to the village and they found that not a single person had laid their hands on the tube wells. Nobody in the village, none of the women. They were still traveling all the way to the water source, carrying buckets on their heads, steel buckets, heavy buckets, in the rain, in the heat. They were carrying water from the source, from the river, and traveling all the way back to their village every single day. Nobody was using the tube wells that were installed, the taps that were installed there, right? All systems, all communities, right? You don't want to accept something new. So you have to make sure that whatever solutions you guys are designing as well, right? All of you guys are designing products. You want to solve actual problems. You have to make sure that the community you're designing it for can actually adapt, right, and accept the solution. Just because you accept it as designers, because as designers, we are married to our products, right? We're married to our solution, we're married to the things we design, we love it. Like it's very hard for us to see flaws in it. It's very hard for us to see why this will fail, right? Because that's what we do day in and out. We're only focused on the product. But it's important as designers to first focus on the community. Study the people, study the community where this is going to be implemented, right? Because never be married to your solutions, right? Never be married to your products. Never be married to your services. Be married to the problem you're solving, because that is the only way that you can adapt your own products to make sure it is a better fit. So assumption, we always work under the assumption that something is a problem, something that is so obvious. हम लोग को लग रहा है कि ये problem है, might not necessarily be a problem for the community. So why waste time solving it? If it's not a problem for them, you can't go and tell them, देखो आप लोग को problem है, and then go and solve it, right? Sometimes the problem, but also on the flip side, some issues are really a problem, but the community does not know it's a problem because they do not know about the alternative. Superstition, especially when you're working for communities, right? Like these, the communities are very deep rooted in superstition. They have a very, long culture, long history with the place, right? For example, in a lot of African communities, the word for tree is the same as the word for relative, right? Because the language is shaped that way, they kind of treat the trees as relatives. You can't just go and cut it down and say, I'm making a house for you because your mud hut doesn't shelter against the rain. They're going to be pissed because you just cut down my relative, right? So it's important to understand cultural, significances of the community where you're going to deliver your solutions, right? As entrepreneurs, you can't solve all problems on the planet. So it's important for you to identify your stakeholder and work only on that. You can't please or solve everybody's problems. Because a solution feels natural to you, because you know how to use it, you understand the science and technology behind it, does not mean that the community will trust it as well, right? They have to feel and understand the same values that went. See, because you can't expect to go and teach your physics to community, but what you can teach are the values behind why you made what you made and how it works, right? So we use empathy as a tool while designing solutions and validating solutions. It was all women carrying water, right? In the picture that we saw. Going all the way to the river source to bring the water back to the village, that entire time, right, 120 minutes, that was the only time, 2 hours during the day, when the women could step out of the house, be independent, be in a group, and go all the way to the river and come back. And it was the only time when they could socialize. These engineers went into the village without asking anybody anything, set up a tube well there thinking, you guys have a problem, let me solve it, and they took away their social life. And that brings us to the most important aspect to solving problems and designing solutions, which is shut up and listen. That's it. Do not jump into solutions. Shut up listen, go to your community, ask them what they want, ask them what their life is, find out how the community functions, find out what their social structures are, find out what their superstitions are, find out how their culture has shaped over all these years. That is going to give you insights about how to build your product, how to market it, and how to make sure that they adapt it. Yeah, so always start with the people you're designing it for. Having said that, can anybody guess what the solution, the actual solution to this problem was? Like, what did the engineers design that really worked? You don't have to dig a tube well, you don't have to make a cart. Take the same containers, put a lid on it, and make sure that the containers themselves are rollable. You think about how much it reduces the cost of the product that you're making. Yeah. In fact, they also solved a secondary problem, which is of storage. When you're carrying water in buckets, you have to take it home and store it somewhere, right? You can't store it in a bucket because bucket is what you'll be using, right? So here there's a lid, you can take it and make it.
Yeah, so in this, I hope you have watched it. So in this video, there are a lot of things that Rohan mentioned in this video. So this video we will be sharing with you in the Innovation Challenge once you'll participate. So there are many things that Rohan mentioned in this video about those African people. What is that? We should never get married to a solution. Like we need to understand the community needs, what their what their culture is. We shouldn't assume anything and build something. Like they built a tube well, but nobody used it. But the actual need was something different, which they liked it later. Okay, so we need to understand what kind of solution we are offering them. Before even we give a solution, we should understand what their problems are, what their needs are. And above all, when we are doing a customer discovery, when we are talking to people, we have to have empathy as a tool. Like we have to have this empathy for our customers to get into the shoes of another person and understand what they really need. We should build a good rapport with the person. And what is the important thing again in this video that we saw is we need to shut up and listen. We need to listen to people. We need to listen to the community, what different social things that they do, what culture that they follow, why they are like that. So we need to understand that. In both the videos, our main intention to show both the videos are we should first understand what the customer needs are and then only jump to a solution. Okay, so that is there. Now we are in the first phase, that is the insight phase, where we are trying to understand the problems, we are trying to understand customer needs. So in a startup, in the initial phase, we deal with two kinds of research, that is primary research and secondary research. What is this primary research and the secondary research? It's all about talking to customers and doing a market study. So primary research, okay, let me go to, yeah. So here in this innovation process, the primary research comes in this phase where we are in the insights and the problem phase. Here is where the primary research comes. Once we understand the problem and we are doing we are developing a solution, we come secondary research comes under this phase. So this is where primary research takes place and this is where secondary research takes place in an organization. So let's understand what is primary and secondary research. Primary research, it's all about customer study, talking to people, understanding their needs, doing interviews. Like you go to people, you understand, okay, who will be your target stakeholders, who will be your target audience. You will have a focused set of interview questions, surveys that you can do, focused interactions, questionnaires that you'll come up with. Now, when you do when we do a primary research, what things we should consider, what are the different questions that we should consider is to understand what is the actual need. Also, whether if we build a solution, whether that fit to the problem or is there any better solution that we can offer. Who is willing to pay for that solution? Now this all comes under customer. It is the client or the customer who will pay for it, who will take the solution. So we need to understand that. And above all, the important things to remember when we are doing a customer discovery, when we are solving somebody's need, is to do a like to use the empathy as a tool. Like we need to be empathetic. We need to we need to uh, get ourselves in somebody's shoes and understand. We cannot just go and talk to them focused questions. We need to understand what their needs are. So we need to build a good rapport with the people. And how do we do that? The key element of primary research is storytelling. It is not the data, it is not the statistics that will appeal people, that will impress people. It is the story, it is the emotions that that you will connect with the people. Like family bonding, why it is so strong? Because of the emotions that we have for each other, right? Similarly, when we go to the market, what is important is the emotions of a person, the stories that we share, because they will always relate it to something. So it is important that whenever we talk to people, there is a good storytelling that we use, like a proper stories that we use to get in with the emotions of a person. So these three important things are the key elements of a primary research. And above all, in all the videos we saw, it is we should never assume anything. When we are talking to people also, when they are sharing their problems, we have to just shut up and listen. We may come up with ideas. Oh, he's having this kind of problem. Let's come up with this solution. No, we need to simply understand. We shouldn't share any kind of solution at the initial period. We should simply listen to them, understand. And it should not be one or two people, it should be hundreds of people. Or once you are satisfied with the common problem that is there, you should keep on, like we should keep on talking to people. It should not be one or two, it should be many. Because if you are coming, like if we are coming with a startup, it is for many, right? It should aim at growth. So we shouldn't assume for a solution, but similarly we should have a wider aspect. We should get a wider aspect of what is the actual solution or what is the actual need. Okay, so that all comes under primary research. Now, once we understand the need, once we understand the problems that are out there, we now go to a next phase, which is coming up with a solution. Before we come up with a solution, what do we have to do is we have to undergo a market study. How we do a market study? We should never go for a simple Google search and articles that are there, but we should actually do a literature survey. We should check for the papers that are there, research report that are there, existing solutions that are there by different people. We should go for journals, we should go for sources and references for a particular product that has been designed based on the same problem and the solution. So we should never depend on Wikipedia content or never depend on a particular article. We should do multiple checks and understand what are there. So for example, in like in the past, in the Innovation Challenge, there was one team who did their literature survey. And when they did a literature survey, they mentioned that it was the newspaper articles that they read. Do you think newspaper articles are the good way of doing a research? It will have its own exaggeration, or it will have its own content, right? So how do we proofread, or how do we make sure that the article is saying the right things? It is always by going to several references. It is always by checking out all the research that is published, all the journals that are there. So we have to be very particular when we are doing secondary research, that we go for several options. Like it is not the one study that we do. So we have to do a lot of literature survey, do a summary of it, and then understand what others are offering, what can be novel product that we can come up with. And that way we come up with a solution. Now, in market research, what happens is we analyze the data, we identify the competitors, we also identify the target segments, like target segments as in what is the pricing strategy, who are the customers, what are the products, what will be the revenue stream that we'll come up with. So this market research will help us analyze the data, the stats that is out there, understand who will be our competitors, how to come up with innovative solution, and then also this will also help us to develop and build a proper business plan. So these are the two aspects of our primary and secondary research. I hope you understood. Now we'll come up with we'll come to our main topic of the session, that is customer interaction. As we heard in 2 videos, like we should listen to people, we should interact with customers. So when we interact with customers, things to remember or what all we should focus on is, first thing, we should build a trust. Who will share their problems? Like if you go to a stranger, will the person will immediately share a problem? Definitely not. So we need to build a good rapport. We need to we need to understand from where that person is, what they do, what is the user persona. Like we need to build a proper trust. We need to develop a good relation with the customer. And then when we are interacting with the customer, we need to ask specific questions. Like we should not get digressed. We should ask something which you already thought of, and then you can ask it. But then, for example, I will come up with a idea, and I will, I have these plans. But then once I'll talk to the person, I'll realize that whether that is the idea that I should go up with, or or it is something different that I should follow. So all this will come under customer interaction only. So we need to be specific, but also we should avoid binary questions. Binary questions as in how, like, do you do this kind of thing? The person shouldn't say yes or no. That will not fulfill the purpose, right? So we should try to avoid all binary questions. We should talk to the person in such a manner that you actually get the insight, like we actually get what the person is going through, what is the daily routine, what are the needs at any point in time. And then above all, the important thing when we talk to customer is to pay attention to the non-verbal clues, like their expression, eye expression, whether they are getting bored or annoyed by the type of questions that we are asking, whether we make sense to them. So what is their facial expression? How eye contact they are keeping with us. So all these non-verbal clues will help us know whether we should stop or continue, whether we should ask what type of questions to them. Okay, so these are the 4 things that one should know before or while having an interaction with the customer. Now again, coming back to our main innovation process, what we discussed today is insights, like so insights where our customer interaction takes place. So here is a period where more of creativity takes place, ideation takes place, because here is a critical period of a startup. Okay, so here it is a critical period. Oh, okay, I see a question. What is binary question? Binary question means if I am talking to a person, I shouldn't ask certain type of questions which answers yes or no. Like if I ask something, okay, do you like AirPods? Yes, the person will say yes, but then that is not my intention, right? I should actually get insights from them. So any questions that I ask should not have a binary answers, either yes, no, or those kind of thing. The question should be specific questions to actually get things out from a customer. So that kind of questions are not a binary one, but a detailed one that you'll ask like to the customer. Okay, so coming back to the innovation process, there are 4 phases of a innovation process. The first phase, insight and problem. So here it is a period when we are doing a primary research. Here is a period when we are doing a customer discovery, understanding the problems and the needs. And this phase, it's all about how creative we are, what kind of innovative solution that we plan on offer. So here in this phase, it is an open innovation. We don't know what exactly it is, but we think of a lot of ideas, a lot of brainstorming happens here. But now once we are at this phase, we know that this is the unfulfilled need. This is the right problem. Like how might we solve this kind of problem when we come up with a how might we for a particular problem. Okay, so this is a problem period. And then once we are here, then we do a market research. We do a secondary research, which is design thinking and understanding like what is out there and how we can be innovative with our solution. And even if we do some kind of solution, to what extent this will solve the needs of our customers, because we are aiming at the growth of an organization, right? It should not be for a less number of people, but it should be a boom for everybody. So how it will be? So this is the period when we do a secondary research, and then after problem solution, and then once we are with the solution, we do a business model. So business model is all about, we know the solution, we have the products with us, and then we come up with the different kind of cost structure, we come up with the customer segment, who will be the stakeholders, we come up with a proper team management who will do the development of the product, and then we have a revenue stream and a cash flow stream ready with us. Okay, in 1 year down the line, this is how our organization will get the profit. This is the burn rate that we will get in the initial period. This is the in 3 years, this is the target. In 5 years, this is the target. 200 crores is our aim, for example. So all that comes under business model. So this is the innovation process that anybody will do in a startup. Okay, now just like you must have seen this image before also. This is tree swing analogy, where a customer explains certain problem and project leader understands it in a different manner. Developer does something different, and then business consultant, they hype it, they exaggerate in a different way to the customers or clients, and even the customer who has been built for the money, they are exaggerated in this manner. But what is the reality? The customer needs this. So this image, this analogy tells us something. What is that? Either it is with respect to the development of a product or with respect to a startup. This shares something, which is that at every phase, at every phase of the period, what we have to do is we have to talk to the customer. We have to understand their needs at each development phase, whether it is the developer, whether it is the project leader, whether it is the operation people, there needs to be a communication. Because of the communication gap, this kind of blunder happens. So what is important thing that we understand from this image is, first thing, a proper communication is needed with the customer and the client. A proper communication is needed with every phase of a product development cycle, and we need to keep talking to our client to deliver exactly what is needed. So this analogy talks about that. And above all, a successful startup is when we know our customers, what they want the most, and even the company can do the best, the startup can do the best. When these two meets, then it is a wonderful startup. So focus on where those two meets is what we have to do. Okay. So I'll end up this with a this is there in net, and like when I did a course with Professor Devdeep, he showed this and I liked it very much. And actually this is practical. So this is practical to us also in real life. So when we are in school, we always follow instructions, like whatever has been taught to us through textbooks, all and everything for the exams, for the readings, for everything, we follow instructions in school. But in reality, all that we learned, it is on the basis of trial. We have to take the risk of the startup. Like for example, if we are going to do something, we have to take that trial. So we need to try. We may fail or succeed. If we fail, we have to learn through that failure. What exactly failed? It is not the person who failed. It is the solution that has failed. So what is that failed? And learning from that, understanding, doing a survey, doing a research, and refining it and coming back to a trial. So in real world, this is how it works. And we will learn more about this customer discovery and all those things in our course that we will offer in the Innovation Challenge. So the Innovation Challenge registration is going on, and once we start with the competition, we will enroll you into the Innovation and Entrepreneurship course, where we'll discuss about how to come up with a questionnaire, how to talk to people, how to understand the market need, and then how to develop a business model canvas, what is the right pricing strategy that we should come up with. So all the aspects, the basic aspects of a product development and a startup, we will cover in that. Now, based upon our interaction that we did, I request you all to now let us come to a page on let us come to a same page on what is customer discovery all about. Like, what is customer discovery in general that you have understood. So 1 minute, I'll go to this. And yeah, so now I request everybody of you to go to the Menti poll and enter the code and answer this. Based on our interaction, based on what we covered so far, what do you think is customer discovery? What is the first phase, the insight phase all about, the primary research all about? I request you all to go to menti.com and you will be able to see, those who are new, you will be able to see this code. Enter this code and you'll be able to answer to this question that has been posed. Okay, so we see understanding customers, defining and prioritizing thing, empathy, no assumption, market needs. Okay, somebody just answered looking for. Okay, maybe you can just refresh and answer once more. Customer requirements, the real need. Okay, find out the problem. Cool. So we are all on the same page. That's amazing. So the center of the thing is, it's all about what is the market need, empathy, okay, target, understanding customer discovery, okay. Shut up and listen. Okay. This is actually, it sounds different, but this is the hard truth, is what even we also felt, that, okay, we shouldn't simply come up with a solution. We should first listen. Listening is not that easy. Like, because when you're when we interact with everybody, even in the interaction, we get digress a lot. Like we just come up with a solution and just in the ideation period only, once we come up with a solution, we tend to share that, but we shouldn't be doing that. We should listen. Listening is very hard, but that is the very important skill that everybody of us should have. Like, we should listen to people, we should listen. That is a very important skill, but very difficult skill. But if you want to come up with a startup, that is the very important skill one should have. Okay. Okay. Listen to what they say. Cool. So we all are talking about something which is very important, is to understand market needs, use empathy as tool. We shouldn't assume anything. We should do a lot of customer interaction. It is not one customer, it is not one person or 10%, it is hundreds of people, as many as possible. That many number of people we should talk to come on a common ground, to come on a common solution that we can offer to a large audience. So amazing. I thank you all for answering to the Menti polls, and I see that many of you have got the essence of it. You must be knowing this before, but it is like a structured way that we have put it to you all. So 1 minute, yeah. Now we'll go back to our presentation. Yes. So that was all about customer discovery and understanding the problems. Now in eYantra, we are doing 3 kind of initiatives, which is ERA Robotics Competition, Innovation Challenge, and e-Yantra Lab Setup Initiative. So through this offerings, the most like the favorite of all is the robotics competition and innovation challenge. And people, like once the students participate, they come to finals, and after finals, they are either given a placement or they are given an internship with us. So when they are doing an internship with us, we also cover a lot of talks with respect to like personality development, with respect to technical talks, all those things. And also we have this kind of innovation and entrepreneurship talks. So when like in the past we have done that, and as Kavisa mentioned about Muthu Vangaliyappan, he was one of the student, and he did an internship with us when he was introduced to this course of innovation and entrepreneurship by Copenhagen professor Sudhanshu Roy, who talked about different aspects of a startup. And then he launched this. Like later on, he made up his mind, as sir mentioned, that I will not go for a job, I'll go for a startup, I will have something of my own. So he did this catamaran company in Tamil Nadu, Coimbatore. So his solution is based on AI and ML platform robots, that all way. So these are the few startups that have emerged through this training period, like through this training in the past. So there is this drona startup that is done by Suraj Wodiar. He participated in the ideas competition, which is like the innovation challenge, formerly known as ideas competition. So he participated in the competition. He did his project in sewer cleaning, and once he did that, later with a team, he started with a startup, and then he is coming up with literally innovative solution to solve the actual need. He is approaching government, he is talking to people, and then modifying the products based upon the needs. So he is doing a very good job in the sewer cleaning area. And then catamaran we discussed, and now Muthu Vangaliyappan, he is doing his not only in India but also in foreign places. He is selling his products, and he's doing really good. And then we have this surveyan done by Abhishek Acharya. So Abhishek Acharya was our EY participant. He did he participated in robotics competition, where he learned about image processing, Aruko marker, and then drones and all. And then in the EY SIP, he was inducted into more detailed training with a mentorship. Okay, and he did the survey yarn, which is a really cool solution that he has come up with of mind mapping. Okay, and then similarly, Heavens Design, Keyur Rakholia, he is also in the startup doing a lot of good work in the solar energy, talking to different people, and in the conferences of startups. He is very, very successful people in startups. And then we have like so many others, like Pavan Atavne. He joined us in e-Yantra. He spent time with us doing research, and then he's into doing a lot of research activities in his projects. And similarly, Raimo. So startups are like emerging from the trainings and from the technology that is learned by the students. So these are the few startups that are listed here. And as I mentioned, that we have different competitions and different like challenges that we share, where the students are inducted to the training, the basic training, to understand the real need and to understand how to go, what is the steps that we should follow. Because when we are in college, we are into more of a education mode. Like every semester we have different subjects, but practical exposure is what we need the most. So through our competition is what we try to impart more of practical exposure, more of hands-on training is what I would cover. Now I request my colleague Purchase to talk about current innovation challenge. Like in this year's innovation challenge, a beautiful theme is being posed, which is about inclusivity, which is really close to my heart, like very beautiful theme. So I request Burgess, you're there?
Yes, I'm here. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, Burgess. So
Could you
over to
please
you.
just share your screen again so that
Oh, okay, sure. Yeah, 1 minute. Yeah.
okay, so a very good afternoon to everyone. I'm just going to talk about this year's innovation challenge. So as you know, the innovation challenge of eYantra is a theme-based challenge, right? And our former theme was agriculture, and now currently we have a theme on inclusivity and hello, can you hear me?
Yes, now.
Sorry, I think someone had muted me, but yeah. So there's absolutely no telling where the next great idea can come from. And more than anything, right now, even in the domain of entrepreneurship, we actually have a very compelling need for more social entrepreneurs. And through a series of sprints in the Innovation Challenge, basically, we help convert your ideas into pitchable businesses because at the end of the day, a startup is nothing more than a business. So just go on to the next slide, please. So this year's Innovation Challenge is on inclusive Indian cities and developing sustainable and advanced technologies that help urban inclusivity. So we have a very popular slogan of be a Sathi for your city and the people around you. And this adds up to the entire sentiment of leaving no one behind. And I'll describe to you what inclusion and inclusive cities are really about. Go on to the next slide, please. So basically, technologies that can help mainstream urban inclusion and inclusion from the sense of making our urban infrastructure, services, spaces more accessible, more equitable, and more reachable to people of different diverse, backgrounds and settings, basically. So when we talk about inclusion and the spectrum of diversity, we have, there's nothing like normal people, basically. Each one of us is definitely bound to develop a disability at some point in our life. And we have to be fully prepared for it and ensure that our cities and infrastructures are ready for that. So let me give you a simple exercise in which you can marinate in a sense of empathy. So how many of you actually felt upset that you couldn't really move around in the pandemic? I mean, this is an open question. Like you can just either raise your hand or just describe that sentence basically. So many of you I see like were picking up the hands. You must have felt upset that you can't move, your movements hindered, and you may never get back to just being out there and stuff like that, right? Well, that's pretty much the day, just one day in the life of a paraplegic or someone whose movement has been restrained for life. We only felt it for 1 year or 2 years, but can you imagine it from the viewpoint of a person with a disability that does not allow him to move around in cities freely? So that's just an example of several examples that can be given. So India has one of the most strongest acts on disability, which is the Right to Persons with Disabilities Act 2016. Globally, it is one of the strongest policies for inclusion of disabled groups. And more than that, there are expanded user groups also. So disability does not necessarily imply that you have to have some physical injury or some genetical, it's not a permanent health condition, but it is also a situational condition. And there are situational disabilities also that hinder our performance and, optimal well-being in different situations and environments. So we have to look at disability as an imbalance between a person and their surrounding environment and not just as a permanent health disorder. And that is how the world is increasingly recognizing how to make cities and infrastructure more inclusive is through universal design. And universal design does not mean focused solutions. Universal design means a solution that if I design it for person X, person A to Z can also use that solution basically. So a solution that addresses more diverse using and empathy remains at the core of all future technology basically. That is a absolute non-negotiable now with global trends as well, that you have to have a social backing to whatever business you do basically. And the entire idea is to develop with your identified user groups and not for your identified user groups. So just go on to the next slide. So what can you do by participating in this year's theme, basically? So you can come up in two key segments, basically. Your solution category choices are personal assistive technology or public space
Yes,
solution.
purchase.
Can you hear me?
Can you see?
Hello, Deepa, can you hear me?
Sir, your sound is inaudible.
Okay, great. So you have two choices of interventions by participating in this time's challenge, basically. One is personal assistive public space solutions. So in personal assistive technologies, you can come up with products, equipment, and systems that can enhance the learning, working, and daily living of persons with disabilities. So some examples which are quite popular now in the market are like things like a smart cane, braille learning devices, hearing aids, which are becoming more and more enhanced and mainstream nowadays. The other is public space solutions. So solutions that same thing, it's just products, equipments, and systems that can help towards improved accessibility and experiences of very diverse user groups with respect to our cities, our infrastructure, our services. So anything to making a street more safer, to making it more friendlier for wheelchair users as well. So there can be technology for the safety of women, children, elderly, data collection platforms, audio-visual systems, transport and mobility experience, basically anything that can help improve the urban experience for diverse user groups. And the way you can deploy your solution this time is through any of these four areas. So your tools include geographic information systems or GIS, Internet of Things, product and service design, and robotics and automation. So we are also offering MOOCs, which will walk you through, or at least give you a basic foundation to start developing your ideas and solutions on these platforms and through these tools. So you can convert your ideas into startups and do good for society as social entrepreneurs. And tech-driven social entrepreneurs is a very rare thing that is quite frankly, there in the current Indian startups ecosystem. And this challenge represents a major boost in that direction where we need more tech-driven social entrepreneurs. Next. Deepa, next slide, please. Deepa, are you there? You're on mute.
Do you want to move to
Yeah.
the next
So
slide too?
no. So basically, we also have this campaign for our participants as well,
Yeah.
because the value behind the entire challenge also is contributing towards the 2030 United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. So there's 17 goals for a brighter future for humanity, basically. And this
Yes,
challenge is a
Burgess.
very promising.
You are able to hear me?
Deepa, mute yourself, please.
Okay.
This challenge is a very promising step forward in the direction of fulfilling the SDGs. So, uh, Deepa, just move on, please. So basically, we have a cumulative funding pool for our challenge. So the finalists of the challenge, up to almost 10, say, startups or 10 finalist teams, basically, will be given a cumulative pool of 1 crore in funding, basically, which will be split amongst the participants. And depending on the theme and the area of intervention that you go for using GIS, IoT, and robotics and other segments that we described to you, your fundings will be proportionately given. And more than that, because we know that many students have a struggle कि चलो हमने ये किया हम जीत गए and things like that. What happens next? What happens when the challenge ends? So the challenge ends when we make you pitch ready, which means that you can go out to an investor and then pitch your idea to them. All right. And in the case that that does pan out, or even if it doesn't as a finalist, what we will do from our end is ensure that you stay solvent for at least a year to keep further developing your ideas. So financially solvent, you'll get a stipend also from IITB. And hopefully with that, you can continue working on your ideas till it becomes more pitch ready, basically. So we always have this job pressure amongst younger individuals कि चलो हमने ये सब किया लेकिन मुझे तो वापस नौकरी करनी है. It's not at all like that. And this is one of the biggest mental barriers that we're trying to break among students, quite frankly. So this is a wonderful opportunity to become a job maker and not just a job seeker. And if you have a mindset which is wanting to intervene just to do social good and help people out there, this is a wonderful challenge for you. And I wish all the participants and those who are interested all the best. And in the next slide, we have a QR code. Deepa, could you go on to the next slide, please? You can scan the QR code and explore the website and see what it's all about. And if you feel comfortable, we look forward to your registration and having you on board for the Innovation Challenge. Thank you so much. Yeah, this slide. Just keep it on screen so the participants of the this session can scan it. Please feel free to scan this QR code and we'll provide the link for you also. I think Deepa has provided it in chat for everyone.
Yeah, Gargi has provided it.
Yeah.
And one more thing is, there will be a quiz link that we will share. And we request everybody to take the quiz, because the quiz questions, like there is a short quiz and it is based on the interaction that we had today. And why quiz? Because based on the interaction, based on your score, you'll be awarded with the attendance certificate today. So I think, yeah, so quiz, once the quiz link is up, do take the quiz. And as Burgess mentioned, yeah, you can scan this to check more details about our current year innovation challenge.
Quiz link has been posted. The quiz link has been posted. Please complete it within 10 minutes. Otherwise, your quiz won't be submitted.
Questions?
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you.
Hello, ma'am.
Yes.
Where are the quiz? Hello.
Yeah, it has been posted on chat. So Gargi, could you confirm? Like if you check the chat, the link will be visible for a Google form where a set of quiz questions are there. You need to answer those questions. Gargi?
Put the quiz link. Just give me 1 second if you want to repost it. Does everybody see the quiz link? Please submit it within 10 minutes, please.
Hello, ma'am. I cannot see the questions.
Can you check the chat, please? It has been posted.
Hello.
In case you're not able to see the quiz form, then we request you to use some other browser or check the
Yes,
internet
ma'am. I'm
connection.
unable. Yes.
Okay.
I cannot see the questionnaires.
Yeah, so could you check the internet connection and probably some different browser, because we are getting the responses, because yeah.